It was supposed to be a regular Tuesday night at St. Mercy Medical Center in Chicago. Nurse Elena Carter had just clocked out after a grueling 12-hour shift in the trauma ward. Exhausted, she loosened her ponytail, grabbed her coffee, and walked through the dimly lit parking garage toward her car. But just as she reached for the door handle, she heard a loud crash, followed by a desperate cry. Without hesitation, Eleanor sprinted toward the sound. Near the entrance, a man lay bleeding beside a flipped motorcycle. His helmet was cracked and his breathing shallow. A few bystanders stood frozen, unsure what to do. But not Elena. Her instincts kicked in. "Call 911, she shouted, already kneeling beside the man. She assessed his injuries: possible spinal trauma, deep laceration to the thigh, signs of internal bleeding. Using her nursing bag, which she always kept in her trunk, she applied pressure to his wounds and stabilized his head using rolled towels. She kept him talking, calm, alive until the ambulance arrived. The paramedics recognized her immediately. "Eleanor, didn't your shift just end? I couldn't leave him," she replied, wiping blood from her arms. But the next morning, Eleanor was called into the hospital administrator's office. Her supervisor, Mr. Halbridge, folded his arms coldly. "You're aware of the hospital's liability policy, correct?" "What are you talking about?" she asked, confused. "You treated someone off duty, off property, using hospital supplies. That's a violation of protocol. I saved his life." "That's not the point," he said flatly. "Turn in your badge. Effective immediately. You're terminated." Eleanor stood frozen. Her heart pounded. Fire for helping. As she walked out of the office with her box of belongings, heads turned. Some co-workers nodded in silent support. Others avoided her gaze. But Eleanor had no idea that the man she saved was no ordinary stranger. And what was about to happen next would shake the entire hospital to its core. Eleanor sat in her small apartment, the cardboard box still unopened on her kitchen table. Inside were reminders of a career she had poured her soul into: her hospital ID, stethoscope, and the photo of her unit team at last year's holiday party. She kept replaying the moment in her head. Fired for saving a life. It didn't feel real. Her phone buzzed, unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello?" A calm, deep voice replied. "Is this Elena Carter?" "Yes, who's calling?" "This is Charles Bennett. You don't know me, but I believe you saved my life last night." She stood up slowly. "You were the man on the motorcycle?" "Yes," he said. "I was told your quick actions likely kept me from bleeding out. I owe you more than I can say. I'm just glad you're okay," she said, her voice cracking. "There was a pause. I want to meet you. Can you come to Rivergate Towers tomorrow morning?" Suite 2900. Eleanor almost dropped the phone. That building was one of the most exclusive office complexes in downtown Chicago, home to major law firms, investors, and CEOs. Sure, yes," she replied, stunned. The next morning, she stood outside the shimmering tower in borrowed heels and a blouse she hadn't worn since nursing school interviews. She was nervous, unsure what to expect. When the elevator doors opened to the 29th floor, she stepped into a sleek office with glass walls and a view of the entire city. Charles stood waiting, now in a tailored suit. The bruises on his face hadn't fully healed, but his posture was strong. "I'm not just some guy on a bike," he said with a smile. "I'm the founder and CEO of Bennett Healthcare Systems." Elena's eyes widened. He continued. "And I just found out that the very hospital that fired you is part of my company's extended network. That makes this personal." Eleanor's breath caught in her throat. "You were punished for doing the right thing," he said, "and I don't let loyalty like that go unnoticed." He leaned in slightly. "How would you feel about helping me fix a broken system, starting with St. Mercy?" Elena stared at him, not knowing this was just the beginning of something far bigger than either of them imagined. Eleanor sat in the back of the SUV again, but this time her thoughts were heavier than ever. Benjamin Ward wasn't just some grateful father, he was a man with influence, power, and a plan. And now she was part of it. She clutched the folder he had handed her before she left his office. Inside were confidential documents, hospital performance reports, employee complaints, incident logs, and most shockingly, a memo about her firing. Signed before the accident even happened. Her heart dropped. They had been looking for a reason to push her out. At home, Eleanor spread the documents across her table, trying to process it all. The hospital had been covering up staffing violations, underreporting patient neglect cases, and misusing donated funds. Her termination was just the latest in a pattern. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from Benjamin Press Conference. Friday. Be ready. We take the first step together. She typed and deleted her reply 3 times before settling on, I'll be there. Friday came fast. Eleanor stood backstage at a press event held in one of the city's largest auditoriums. Cameras flashed, reporters whispered, and then Benjamin took the podium. He spoke with precision. 3 days ago, my son was in a critical accident. A nurse saved his life. She wasn't on duty. She wasn't even thanked. Instead, she was fired. Gasps echoed in the room. But this is bigger than one nurse, he continued. This is about a system that punishes compassion, that chooses policy over people. Then he called her name. Eleanor stepped into the spotlight, heart pounding, palms damp. She took a deep breath. My name is Elena Carter. I was a trauma nurse at St. Mercy Medical Center. I loved my job. I loved my patients. But I learned something this week. Some hospitals don't care about care, they care about control. The crowd went quiet, and I'm here to say that ends now. Her voice, though trembling, rang with strength. She didn't know it yet, but that speech would go viral within hours. And behind the cameras, someone from the hospital board was already dialing damage control. By Saturday morning, Eleanor's face was everywhere. The video of her speech had exploded online, shared by major news outlets, celebrities, and thousands of healthcare workers who felt the same pain she had carried for years. Hashtags like "Nomming Nurses Deserve Better" and "Eleanor Carter Truth" were trending nationwide, but with the attention came backlash. St. Mercy Medical Center released a cold, defensive statement, calling her claims overstated and her termination procedure-based. They painted her as emotional, impulsive, even reckless. It didn't sit well with the public. Meanwhile, Benjamin Ward wasn't slowing down. He launched an internal investigation across every hospital in his healthcare network. Let's find out how deep this sickness goes, he told his board. And let's root it out. Elena, now with legal support and a growing following, began collecting testimonies from other former employees. What she found was horrifying: nurses forced to work double shifts with no breaks, patients turned away for lacking insurance, and threats made to whistleblowers. Then came the surprise: a letter slipped under her apartment door. No name, no return address. Inside was a single printed document, a copy of an email from St. Mercy's CEO to a donor admitting that Eleanor's firing had nothing to do with protocol and everything to do with public optics. He feared her act of heroism would highlight the hospital's own failures in emergency response. Elena's hands trembled. This was the smoking gun that night, Benjamin called her. We're going to court, and we're taking the whole system with us. She paused. Are we ready for that kind of war? His reply came instantly. You already started it, Elena. Now let's finish it. Within days, a class action lawsuit was filed, led by Eleanor, backed by dozens of former employees, and powered by public support like a rising wave. The hospital tried to silence her. They tried to discredit her. But they forgot one thing. When the truth is loud enough, people start to listen, and Eleanor Carter wasn't done speaking yet. The courtroom was packed. Reporters lined the back walls. Activists held signs outside the courthouse. Inside, Eleanor sat quietly at the plaintiff's table beside Benjamin Ward's legal team. Her palms were sweaty, but her eyes stayed locked forward. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about every nurse, every patient, every moment of compassion that had been dismissed for the sake of profit. The hospital's lawyers tried to paint her as unstable and emotional nurse who broke protocol, but their arguments cracked under the weight of the evidence, emails, testimonies, confidential memos. And then came the turning point when Elena took the stand. Her voice didn't shake. "I wasn't thinking about policy when I saw that man bleeding in the park-in,"